So you ever wonder about putting in a deck post? Not sure how to do it? Well, maybe this will help you out. So here we have some deck posts here already, and they're just sitting in these brackets here. And they're not too bad for sturdy, but they're a little wobbly. So it's much better if you can sink them down into the deck. So I've removed the skirt on this here deck, and then what I'm going to do is which I've already done, I'm going to take this board off because it was a short one. Look for a short one if you can. Like, you want to locate where you want to put your post first. Then you got to get your post, which is right there. And then I'm going to put it right here because it's halfway between that post and that post. I'm actually going to change those two posts as well because that's for a gate there. So what we're going to do is I'm going to sink it down. So we take that and I'm going to notch it out of here so that it's center between that post and that post, so it looks good. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to sink it down. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set it down to here, mark this. Actually, I'm going to take the bottom of this post here and I'm going to notch out part of it here, so there's like just a chunk like this out of this side of this post. What I'm going to do is I'm going to slide it down so that it goes down beside that. Then I can screw through here, bolt it, or actually lag it or bolt it, whichever, through here into that post. Then I'm going to have full thickness post up here. So there'll be a bit of a thinner piece here, but it'll still be super strong because it's still going to be about 2.5 inches thick. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually screw through here or lag it into that post, so then that's super strong. You could bolt it as well, which would be even stronger, but it also depends on how strong this is the rim board of the deck, and this one's a tricky one because this is at an angle. So these joists run parallel, but this outside one does not. It runs on a bit of an angle, so it makes it a little more tricky. What you want to do after you set your post down, then you want to block up. You want to get a block like this, and you want to, it's like that. You're going to cut yourself some blocks, and you're going to block it up either side of the post. And I'm going to show you that in a bit here, but I'm just getting you thinking ahead. It's because you want to block up on this side and that side of the post, and you're going to screw through the back side of each one of these floor joists or deck joists, and that will clamp that in tight so that cannot move. So once you bolt it here or lag it, then it can't go, the post can't tip back and forth this way. When you block it that way and you screw through the sides or lag it or bolt it, whichever you have, then it can't tip the other way. So yeah, that'll make that good and strong. So make sure you sink it down. A lot of guys they'll put it just onto on the first floor joist or rim joist, which this case is. And you can get more strength if you can take it right down to the beam. And if you don't have the beam here, like something that's holding up your floor joist, what you can do is put a deck block right on the ground, because this deck is not even 2 feet off the ground, so we could just do deck blocks. So this deck here has been here for probably about 8-9 years, and it hasn't moved an inch. So, and it's all built on gravel and deck block. So you can grab yourself another deck block, put it down on the ground there, and then once you set the bottom of your post there into the deck block, then it's not going to move. It's not going to go up and down. It's not going to move, because that's the other thing, is there's pressure coming down from the top a little bit. So you want to just make sure that that's good and stable. So anyways, I'll show you the next step here. Okay, so now I've notched out this here part of my deck board. All I did was I marked it, and I used my jigsaw to cut it out. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide my post down in there and see where it lands on this beam here. This is the beam that holds up all the floor joists or deck joists on this deck here. So then once I see where it sits on here, I can mark it out on the bottom of my post there and notch it out so that it slides down beside that. So because I wanted it to make sure that it was center between there and that post. So there you go. Now we're going to set it down and I'll show you. Okay, I've got it cut out so that it fits pretty good. You don't want to make this too tight here where your post sits down, because if there's any expansion on this, it could crack your boards So just make sure you give just a little bit, like let an eighth of an inch or less. Then it allows water to slide down there too, and it's not sitting right there. So you can see now where it sits right there on that beam. So what I'm going to do is I just have to notch a little wee bit out there. You can see where it sits there. This is about an inch, inch and an eighth there that I got to notch out. So that still allows me to have, that still allows me over, it's about almost 4 inches of thickness of post left over. And that will be, and then of course I'm going to bolt through here into this post, bolt it or lag it. I haven't decided yet because I got to see what I got in my supply. If I have legs, I'll use legs. If I have bolts, I'll use bolts. So this deck, because it's not over 2 feet off the ground, it's not being inspected, but I do want to do things as close to code as possible. So that's what we're going to do. And typically now with code, you're not allowed to cut your posts at all. But this little bit don't matter. And like I said, we're less than 2 feet off the ground, but I want to still make it good and strong. So there we go. We're going to notch that out now. We're going to mark it and notch it. I've leveled the post up here. So that's what you want to do. Sit it down, level your post up, and then mark it on your on the bottom of the post so you can know where to cut it. Okay, on to the next step. Okay, there you go. Now we got this all cut out. You can see we just notched it out so that that will sit. Now this sits down on top of the beam there, and this will sit, this side will sit up against the rim joist there. And I just used my cordless saw. What you do is mark the distance, cut it this way, do the same on the other side, then cross cut it this way. And if your saw blade ain't deep enough to go from one side to the other, then all you're going to do is just score it like this. So take your saw and score it, set it to the right depth, to the depth, this depth here, and then you're just going to score it like that a bunch of times, and then you just take your hammer and knock it off. See, that's what these score marks were. Just because it wasn't quite, the blade wasn't quite deep enough to get from one side to the other, and then you're just going to set it down inside the thing. Now what you're going to do too before that, put some, if you're using pressure treated posts, then you want to put some preservative on there, on that, because now that's been exposed. If you're using cedar posts, don't worry about it. So yeah, but if you're using pressure treated, like this one is pressure treated, the rest are, so I'm just going with the same thing. Yeah, you're going to want to put some treatment on that, and then you're going to slide it down. Okay, so there it is. It's all back together. I finished putting the skirt on, and you can see where the post was. So this post comes down, you can see in there, it comes down to there, so it's above the ground, and it's all bolted. And so I just notched the back of this here skirt board so that the bolt doesn't, or the sorry, it's a lag on this one, so that didn't push that out. So now that's all back together. And you might wonder why I've got this piece of metal at the bottom. That's to protect the bottom of these boards. It's actually because I don't run these boards right to the ground. I just leave them up a little bit, and then I put this piece of metal there. It keeps the critters out. The other thing I did too on this after I got the posts on, because I do keep the snow clear in here, is I made this a gate. So I have a latch there and a latch there, so it looks like just part of the whole deck railing. So anyways, there's a cap up there, so they're on, and protects the top of the post from water sitting on there and rotting it out. So and then we got a coat of paint on them, and I will guarantee you that you will get some cracks and stuff in them, just like this guy here. But all I did is I filled it with Mulcall caulking and then painted it up, and it looks good. So I actually, on these new posts that I put in, I used a Tremclad paint, like a rust paint. The rest of them I had used a stain, and I don't like the way it's holding up, so I've used the other paint and it seems to do better. So just be careful what paint you use to finish up. So there you go. That's the post in, and now you can go and do yours and do it all by yourself. All right, until next time, have fun.